In an earlier chapter, we solved absolute value equations, and you can take those absolute value equations and turn them into graphs of absolute value functions. An absolute value function is a function that just simply contains an absolute value expression. That's supposed to say parent. The parent absolute value function is f of x equals absolute value of x. That's the basic absolute value that goes through the origin. The graph of this function is V-shaped. If you look at the picture over on the side, it creates a picture of a V, and it's symmetric about the y-axis. There's a word for that spot where it kind of turns direction. It's in the picture. It's called the vertex. And the vertex of the parent function is at 0, 0. The domain is all real numbers, and the range is greater than or equal to 0. Any other graph, any other absolute value function that you're going to graph is some sort of transformation, whether you just kind of translate it up or down, left, right. Maybe you can make it a little narrower or wider. You can flip it. But every absolute value function is some sort of spin on this parent function. In the last lesson, we talked about the way a graph shifts, and I told you that we would need that knowledge for this lesson. So let's go down to example 1, and it tells us that we have to graph each of these functions, and we also have to compare it to the parent function, absolute value of x, and describe the domain and range. So let's pop up some xy axes, and unlike the last time we were doing a similar type of thing, I'm not going to have you draw the parent function on the grid, but we will be able to compare it using the picture that's up here. So we can just look at this graph, which is absolute value of x, in order to help us answer these. So what I want you to remember from the last lesson is that when you have a number outside the absolute value symbol, it shifts it vertically. So this is going to be the parent function that you see up here, only it's going to be shifted up 3. So let's graph it. I'm going to take my vertex, which was originally at 0, 0, but now I'm going to put it up 3 to 0, 3. And then if you notice, the slope didn't change. There's no number in front of the x, so therefore the slope is still 1. So you start off, you go 1 up in each direction, and then you go another 1 up, and so you create the V. Remember, we're making a V, not a line. And then you just connect it, label it g of x, and now we just have to compare and describe the domain and range. Now, we actually don't need to do any sort of super complicated thing. The comparison answer is actually what we just did. We took f of x and we shifted it up 3. And then we have to finally do the domain and range. So here's how you do domain and range. You look at the picture and you say, if I pick a random x value, would there be a spot on the graph? Now, obviously, there's only a few dots on this graph, but like if you were here at the number 5, would there be a spot on the V? Right, there would, right, because the arrow tip means it extends, so it would hit somewhere over here. Now we go like super over here, I don't know, whatever. Let's say this is like -8. If you had a x value of -8, would it be somewhere on the graph? And it would, because this goes in that direction. So the domain doesn't have any restrictions. And what we say when that happens is we say all real numbers. Now, there is a fancy symbol to represent that big expression because mathematicians love abbreviating, and it looks like a capital letter R, but instead of one vertical line, it has 2 vertical lines. So that is the symbol that you can use to represent the phrase all real numbers, kind of like the perpendicular symbol, or you can put the equal symbol instead of the word equals. Any sort of symbol replaces either a word or a phrase. That's the symbol for all real numbers. The range is a little trickier The range is when you look at the y values. So this has a y value of 5, this has a y value of 4, this has a y value of 3. So you go up and down the y-axis and you say, are there any spots where there are no y values? And there are. This whole section right here has no y values. There's nothing in this section. So the range is actually restricted to where the y has to be greater than or equal to 3. The only spot where you see y values are where your y value is 3 or larger. There's no spots where the y value is less than 3. All right, let's try letter B. In letter B, instead of getting a vertical shift, we get a horizontal shift. And you have to remember that we talked about the function, which is absolute value of x minus h. So what is h? H is 2, which means that the shift is 2 positive. So I'm going to actually take my vertex, and even though it says minus 2 in the equation, it's actually a positive 2 shift. So I go from 0, 0, and my vertex is now at 2, 0, and then the slope still is 1, so I just kind of do a bunch of dots and make the V. That is m of x. Oh, I totally missed that. Those dots. Okay. And now we have to do the shift and domain and range. So we already know the shift. F of x got shifted 2 to the right. But now let's look at the domain and range. So the domain is all the x values. So if you went super far out this way, would there be a spot on the v? And yes, there would, right? Because it would extend up that way. If you went super far out this way, would there be a spot on the v? And yes, there would, because it goes out that way. So again, the domain is all real numbers. Now, for a while, the domain will always be all real numbers. It's not always all real numbers, but for a little while we're still beginners, it's going to be all real numbers, but the range won't be. So now you look at the y values, and there's y values up here, but there's none down here. So the y values have to be greater than or equal to 0. Any y value that's in the negative quadrant won't have any part of the v. All right, last section together, we're just going to now add a coefficient. So the vertex is not going to shift because there's no number being added or subtracted, but it will change its slope. So let's pop up our grids, xy axes. So let's look at letter A. The only thing it's changing is the slope. So it's still going to have a 0, 0 vertex, but it's going to have a slope of 2 in each direction. So put your dot at 0, 0, always start at the vertex. And now instead of going 1 up in each direction, we're going to go 2 up and 1 to the right. So it's much steeper, which makes sense because a 2 slope, well, that's up 3. A 2 slope has a steeper slope than a 1 slope. Okay, now let's just connect and make our V. And the only other things to do are to compare it and to describe the domain and range. Well, we know that f of x got steeper. You don't have to say what the slope is or how much steeper it got. You just have to say it's steeper or it's wider or whatever. Sometimes people will use the word narrower because it's a little more squished together. All right, now let's do the domain and range. As I just told you, the domain for a while is going to be all real numbers because there's no value that won't have a spot on the v. I could go super positive, there'll be a spot. I could go super negative, and there'll be a spot. So our domain is all real numbers. And our range only has positive y values because down here in the negatives, there's no y values. Another way that you can figure this out is you find the vertex, and then you say that's either my highest or my lowest y value. So this is my lowest y value, which is 0, so the y's have to be greater than or equal to 0. All right, and let's move on to B. This one actually had two things happen to it. The first thing that happened to it is that it got a slope of 1/2. The other thing is that it flipped down. So instead of an upward facing V, it's now going to be a downward facing V. But since there's no plus or minus numbers involved, the vertex didn't shift, so it is still at 0, 0. So put your vertex at 0, 0, and we're going to go we're going to make it a downward facing V with a 1/2 slope. So 1/2 means vertical 1, horizontal 2. And I'm going to do that in each direction so I get the V, but I have to make sure that it is a flipped down V. So that is much wider, obviously, you can see that. So f of x, p of x, f of x got wider. And again, you don't have to say how much wider it got, you just have to say it got wider. The domain is all real numbers, and the range is actually now only the negatives, because now if you look, there's no graph in the positive y values. It's only in the negatives. So our range is actually y has to be less than or equal to 0. All right, now we're going to put it together. I want you to go down to example 3, and I want you to graph letter A on your own. Just letter A. Letter B has a little trick to it. So pause the video now, graph letter A. Hopefully you remembered to go left to instead of to the right. Now, for letter B, it's a little different. If you look at the ones that we did up above, they had the coefficient in front, and that changes things a little. In the one that we're looking at right now, the coefficient is inside, so that makes it a little trickier. So what I want you to do now with this equation is make a table. Anytime you're not sure what a graph looks like, you can always make a table of values, back when we did x, y linears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start you off with a table, and I want you to fill it out. So here's my table. We're going to plug in some positives, some negatives, and 0. So let's go -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Please pause the video, take these x values, and plug them into this equation. And be careful with your calculations, remember absolute value, and press play when you are ready to check your table. All right, if you didn't get those values, try and figure out where you went wrong. Now we're going to take those values and make our grid. So I've got my xy axes, and now I'm going to plot my points. All right, now because I didn't have it symmetrical around the vertex, it doesn't look like a V, but actually don't make a check mark, make an actual V. And what happened is that our vertex actually didn't get shifted the way that we would think it would get shifted. If we look at this, we would think it was a -2 shift horizontal and a -3 vertical. Well, the -3 vertical happened, but it actually only shifted 1 to the left. And the reason is that because the coefficient was inside, it kind of played around with that horizontal shifting. So I will suggest that you can do all of the mental shifting when the coefficient is on the outside. But when the coefficient is not, when it's on the inside, like the one that we have here, I would suggest making a table. If you kind of follow along with what's happening here, then you have a very solid foundation of the lesson, and obviously we're going to practice this more when we come together. This next page is for you if you would like a challenge. I'm not going to do it, but if you want me to look at it in class, I'd be more than happy to do that. But if you want to kind of challenge yourself, do example 4, and if you have any questions, ask me when you come to class.